It is a privilege to welcome you to the 2025 National Social Cohesion and Inclusion Conference, hosted by the Australian Bahá'í Community. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and by paying my respects to their elders, past and present. I also extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here with us. This land has been a place of story and dialogue for tens of thousands of years, and we are honored to continue in that tradition today. We are deeply grateful that each of you, leaders of thought and action from government, academia, civil society, faith communities, and grassroots initiatives, has gathered here today to reflect, learn, and consult on one of the most vital issues of our time. How can we strengthen social cohesion and inclusion in Australia? Your work directly influences inclusion and justice in our society. This conference is the fifth in a continuing series of national gatherings convened by the Australian Bahá'í Community since 2019, when we commenced on the Creating an Inclusive Narrative project. That initiative brought together hundreds of Australians in roundtable discussions across every state and territory to explore what truly connects us, what values define us, and how we can nurture a deeper sense of belonging for all who call this country home. Currently, we have embarked on the second phase of this project. We're hoping to go deeper and have an even wider reach this time. We have shared some of the emerging themes with you in the conference pack. For us, these conferences are not just events, but part of a process. Each conference builds upon the insights and experiences of the last, contributing to an evolving, long-term conversation about what brings us together and how we can cultivate a shared vision for the future of our nation. This year's conference has also attempted to build on themes emerging in other national conversations run by the Scanlon Foundation Research Institute and Welcoming Australia's, just to name a couple. If you have had a chance to look at your folder, it invites participants to explore our shared aspirations on these interrelated themes: unifying dialogue, First Nations perspectives, a growing understanding of the role of communities and neighborhoods. Through keynote presentations, panel discussions, and consultation at your own tables, we all will consider how collective action, informed by shared values, can strengthen the social fabric of our country. This space is intended not only for the exchange of ideas, but for genuine dialogue, conversation that deepens mutual understanding and builds trust. The Baha'i principle of consultation underpins the conference approach, creating an environment where diverse perspectives are welcomed and where difference becomes a source of learning rather than division. Across the country, we see individuals and communities working with creativity and courage to foster belonging, participation, and hope. The 2025 conference is an opportunity to celebrate these efforts, to reflect on lessons learned, and to envision together what the next chapter of this story might look like. A chapter that recognizes that our diversity is not a barrier to unity, but its richest expression. We are all on a journey together and wish to continue and include even more voices along the path. As the Baha'i writings say, all are seeking truth and there are many roads leading thereto. Do not allow difference of opinion or diversity of thought to separate you from your fellow men. Rather, search diligently for the truth and make all your friends. To guide us through today's program, it is my pleasure to introduce our MC, Dr. Penny Taylor. She is the former head of research at Larrakia Nation Aboriginal Corporation and holds a PhD in race relations. Her work has focused on building capacity in non-Indigenous Australians for more fair and constructive engagement with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Dr. Taylor has developed a number of creative and educational resources to improve race relations, including the Darwin Radio Diaries, aired on ABC Radio, and the autobiography of Yolngu senior lawman James Keikamangu. In a former life, she worked as a lawyer in women's and children's human rights across the Pacific and the Northern Territory, and she now serves as Manager of Research and Resource Development in Reconciliation Australia's Community Truth-Telling Pathways program. Dr. Taylor brings a wealth of experience, compassion, and insight to this role, and we are deeply grateful to have her here with us today. Thank you and welcome, and please join me in welcoming Dr. Penny Taylor.
Thank you very much, Shephalie, and it's absolutely my pleasure and honour to be here with all of you today as your MC. Now, we will, of course, begin the formal proceedings with a welcome to country, but just before we do that, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping, as we always need to do. In your conference folders, which you'll find on the table in front of you, and hopefully this is a bit where you realise you're in the right conference room, you will find an information card that includes the program for the day, and there is a QR code on the back where you can learn about our speakers and panellists, which is the bit where you realise you want to be in this conference room, whether it's the right conference or not. We have a fabulous day lined up for you.
My name is Craig Madden. I would like to start by thanking the Australian Bahá'í Community and also the Office of External Affairs for inviting me down here today to welcome you to country. So as a proud Gadigal man and a representative of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, I'd like to welcome you all to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. I'd like to pay my respects to our elders past and present. They're the storytellers, the knowledge holders of our people. And I'd also like to acknowledge our ancestors, for they watch over us all as we walk on these sacred lands. To our Aboriginal brothers and sisters, or if we have any brothers and sisters from the Torres Strait Islands, welcome. To our non-Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters here today, a very warm and sincere welcome to Gadigal land. Our Gadigal clan is one of the 29 clans which make up the Eora Nation, and that's a nation that's bound by 3 distinct landmarks: the Hawkesbury River to the north, the Nepean River to the west, and the Georges River to the south. Within the boundary of those mighty rivers lie our Eora Nation, and the land that we are gathered on here of our Gadigal mob are one of the many clans, as mentioned, of that nation. To our guests who've travelled from across the seas, for anyone who's travelled from across our great country, great states to this beautiful city of ours, welcome. I hope you all enjoy the conference. I was talking to Penny a bit earlier about life in general and how hard it is and you know what's going on socially at the moment. And I told her when I was 12 years old, my dad gave me probably the best advice that I'd ever received. Well, the first thing he said was, when you walk out the door, you're a representative of your people, whether you like it or not. So, in doing so, be kind and be good. And that was the best advice he's ever given me. And that stuck with me throughout life, and it served me well. And, you know, I wish the communities could do a lot better if we just followed those principles. But on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, its members and our Gadigal mob, please enjoy the conference. And when you travel this afternoon, folks, travel safely. And once again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I think lastly but not least, it's important to remember that under the asphalt and the grasslands and the waterways of this beautiful country, this always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Now, our opening speaker today is Melanie Mackenzie, and she will be speaking on the significance of social cohesion from the Australian government perspective and elaborating on some of the government's efforts to strengthen social cohesion. Melanie Mackenzie is head of the Office for Social Cohesion and the Department of Home Affairs. Prior to this role, Melanie led the Americas Engagement section of the International Policy Division and was a policy advisor in the National Security Division of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. Melanie was recognised for her work to advance national measures to counter violent extremism and also led advice to the Prime Minister on major defence capability and acquisitions. She has a background in law and graduated from Monash University. Please join me in welcoming Melanie.
Thank you so much for the welcome and for the great honour and privilege of being here to kick off today's conference. You've exposed my national security policy grounding and background, which shifted quite dramatically when I returned from posting in the US in very late 2022, and the Department of Home Affairs stood up a Strengthening Democracy Task Force, recognising the trends and dynamics that were really eroding that sense of trust in government, the way the information environment was driving deeper polarisation and division. And that work really led to the establishment of the Office for Social Cohesion in the Department of Home Affairs that now carries forward the mission of strengthening social cohesion and democratic resilience. First of all, I'd like to add my acknowledgement and respects and thank you for the generous welcome to country. This generosity of welcome really reminds us of the deep roots of belonging and inclusion that have run deep through society here for tens of thousands of years, and that we're all committed to continuing in our mission to support social cohesion. So while I'm speaking with government perspective, it's really clear to me that more people are thinking and speaking about social cohesion in Australia than ever before, which is really significant and important. From the government perspective, I think even more important that the way people are talking about and engaging with the issues that make up social cohesion are different to what they've been for many years. From the Prime Minister down, there's an acknowledgement that we need that social cohesion and the way that we work together in society is an incredibly valuable asset and one that we need to work to protect and strengthen where we can. I'm really proud to be part of quite a unique office, the Office for Social Cohesion in Home Affairs. It's certainly not the first part of government to be engaging in addressing the challenges facing us in modern society, how we connect and how we relate to our communities, to the information environment, to institutions. But it's perhaps one of the few that's empowered to take a holistic and system-wide view. I know, and I want to acknowledge that within government, social cohesion has often been grounded either in security or in discussions about multiculturalism. And there's definitely links and relevance to both of those. I'm thinking about the Director General of Security, Mike Burgess's Lowy lecture just a couple of nights ago, and made extensive reference to social cohesion, how security threats are damaging social cohesion, and how damaged cohesion then amplifies security threats. As you do in the security realm. There was quite an emphasis on the scale of challenge that's perhaps somewhat terrifying and occasionally depressing. But what I took from DG Burgess's comments was that we all have a role in protecting social cohesion, and really underpinning his comments was the value that we all need to give to it. He said our words, our decisions and our actions matter. And we need to work to rebuild our ability to converse with civility, debate with respect and disagree with restraint. Part of our mission as the Office for Social Cohesion is to figure out constructive ways to actually do that, and I appreciate the support of everyone in this room to progress that. It's not always easy, but there's great opportunity, and I feel really buoyed by seeing all of the supportive faces out there. In the multicultural space, we have been really privileged to have Anne Ali appointed as the Minister for Multicultural Affairs and elevated to a Cabinet Minister for the first time for that portfolio. And for many years, Anne has always, Minister Ali, sorry, has also spoken about just the role and strength of social cohesion. And she's made 2 points in one of her earliest remarks as Minister for Multicultural Affairs, and that is social cohesion is a worthwhile pursuit in its own right, and we should all be vigilant about protecting, maintaining and building social cohesion. And secondly, and really importantly, she made the point that multiculturalism isn't solely about social cohesion, and multicultural communities aren't solely responsible for it. It's about everybody. And it's in this new dynamic of appreciating how broadly social cohesion as a set of issues and concepts stretches that our office works really across all of government. I'll talk a little bit more about our office and how we work, but I first want to come back to why we're all here today. We come together recognising the urgency and importance of our work that will always be a constant. Coming from a security policy background, I understand that the threats and challenges will be constant, always changing, but always there. And so as part of our response or even our preparation, we constantly look to build our strength, maintain resilience, and the way we connect as people, the work that we are all talking about here today, is a really critical component of that. So our lived experience of inclusion, belonging and trust comes down to everyday acts of connecting with our neighbours. It's how communities show resilience in the face of adversity, and coming together today, promoting dialogue and shared purpose. I'm sure I had a point here. I did want to thank Scanlon, for the Scanlon Institute especially, for highlighting that through all of the challenges and the sense of pressure and fraying of our social cohesion, that we remain in a really strong position, and also highlighting the significance of community connections. Connections to our neighbours have a real impact on our sense of happiness. And it's a point that in government it can be hard to find the right policy function for that to fit into. But again, I talk about the privilege of my role and working across the entire system and having more flexibility than most to be able to identify where that fits. So the Office for Social Cohesion, we've been established in the Department of Home Affairs, really on the back of that Strengthening Democracy Task Force, have been very deliberately set up to be independent of the department's national security policy functions, as well as its immigration and multicultural functions, and absolutely connecting to all of them, as well as all other parts of government. We're a small team, with a big remit. And our mission is to build a stronger, more resilient and more inclusive Australia, underpinned by trust, belonging and democratic values. So we're doing this work by promoting and driving more joined up national efforts, promoting evidence-based policy, and most importantly, collaborative partnerships across government and society. We act as a connector, a catalyst, as well as a source of reliable and more rigorous advice to help decision makers see the whole system, where their contribution fits within a large and complex set of dynamics, breaking down the silos as specialists work within their own areas of expertise. So we span all levels of government across multiple sectors and facilitate whole of government collaboration, promoting strategic research and insight, and advocating for social cohesion as a national priority. How we talk about things really makes a difference, and I'm inspired by the effort to develop the national narrative that your organisation has led over the last several years. How we talk makes a real difference. And so we're continuing from government to help shape a more positive and inclusive national narrative. I'll be open to your feedback on how we're going in that mission. But ultimately our goal is to make social cohesion more visible and valued and integrated as a priority in decision making at every level. We're striving to embed social cohesion in core policy and program design, raising its national profile and sharing and scaling proven approaches, integrating more closely across layers of government, across jurisdictions, across portfolios, and across different sectors of society. And so I'm really pleased to be here representing government, adding our efforts to those of everyone here today. It's not an easy task. We, I think, are at a pretty early stage of our journey, but we are really pleased to be on the way. So as we move through today's sessions, I recognise how building unifying dialogue, consensus building, taking First Nations perspectives, and the vital role of communities in neighbourhoods. It's something that we can all be part of and promote and do. So I invite everyone to bring your experiences, your questions, and importantly, as Shephalie touched on, hope, bringing hope for the future and maintaining a focus on our strengths and positivity is really significant. So we know there's more work to be done, and this is a day to reflect on how we can do this. And I really look forward to being part of the discussions. Thank you, everyone. I really hope that's not my phone ringing. It quite possibly is. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Melanie. And thanks for those thoughtful remarks and for letting us know about some of the government's efforts in this important space. It's this quiet and important work that doesn't make the headlines, so it's really great to have a little bit more understanding of what's being done. And of course it's a great opportunity for all of us having Melanie here to strengthen our collaboration with government on this work, as we all have a part to play.